Hey, all. Sorry about that. Onward and I were on a customer call that we were trying to wrap up quickly, but didn't want to close too shortly. I see the recording has started. I don't mean to interrupt if we were started. Tom, anyone, did we start anything, or should we just get going?
We are good to start. Yeah.
Okay, we are
ready
good
for
to
you
start.
guys. So
all right.
awesome.
Thank you. And I'm seeing, okay, I was hoping Aaron was actually going to join this, but maybe I'll give a side update on his stuff. All right, let me open up the agenda and share my screen, and we will get right into it. Apologies again. It's been a hectic morning, for better or for worse. All right, here we go. Share screen. Oh, I think I'm sharing. Nope, just that window. Perfect. Okay, all right. So we have the agenda. Oh yeah, this is actually media agenda. So welcome everyone. Since we're a little late, I still actually want to give the chance because I do see some names here that I don't recognize as well. So maybe we'll do very brief introductions, and Onward and Ahmed and Tsuyoshi, don't feel offended, but for the sake of time, I'm going to introduce you all for you. So I'm Jeff. I'm one of the maintainers for KEDA, program manager on the Azure serverless team. And we have a few other folks from Microsoft as well who are all involved in help with the KEDA project. There's Ahmed El Said, Onward Garg, and Tsuyoshi. So those four of us, we're on pretty regularly. So let's go through and just make sure the rest are there. I see Tom is connecting to audio still. So I'm just going to call out folks on the list. I see Richard Copin, you want to do a quick intro?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that. My name's Richard Copin. I'm the developer experience lead for IBM MQ. I'd like to introduce you to Jess and Callum, who are also on the line. Over the last few weeks, we've been sort of looking at KEDA. Jess and Callum have joined us as new graduate hires, and they've been looking at KEDA with a small team and have put together a candidate scaler for IBM MQ, and we'd love to share that with you. Really excited what we've done.
Awesome.
I'd love to get some feedback and see how we can work together.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, let me make sure to add this. I might add it above merge. It was IBM MQ, right? That the scaler was for?
That's right, yes. Jeff. Yeah,
that's cool.
We've made it above the merch.
Yes, yes. As important as the merch is, though, as you can see here, these are the critical questions. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining. Shubham, I'll let you go next.
Hello, everybody. I'm Shubham. I'm from NEC. We are working on KEDA as a POC project, and we will contribute in future.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much for joining, Shubham. It's great to have you here. Zbigniew, I'll let you go next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zbigniew. I'm an engineer from Red Hat serverless team. I'm maintainer of KEDA as well.
Yes, and I got an email the other day asking if I wanted to nominate incredible people in the CNCF, Zbigniew, and I'm not going to lie that your name was the first one that came up. So we'll see what happens.
Thanks,
maybe Tom can nominate you as well, and you can get some nice recognition. So an understatement introduction. Jess, Callum, I know you kind of got pseudo introduced by Richard. If anything else you want to add, or are we good to just jump into the agenda?
No, that's cool. We're good to go ahead.
Great.
Just hello.
Awesome. Yeah, great to have you here. And Tom, I know your audio is working now. And Tom, I'll let you introduce yourself now that your audio does seem to be working. Maybe it's not. Well, I'll introduce Tom. Tom works at Codeit. He is also a maintainer, does quite a bit for KEDA and open source in general. He has some other open source projects too. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yep. Tom, are you there?
Yes, sorry. Is there a lot of noise for you?
Oh, it just sounds like you're on speakerphone, but it's fine. We can hear you now.
Okay.
You good? Oh, yeah. Okay. Just making sure. All right. I didn't know if you had anything to say, but it sounds like you're just letting us know your audio.
No. I'm on the phone because I'm on a company event. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. Wow. See, this is why Tom is amazing. Dedication. Tom, we bumped your merch down a little bit because we're going to talk some about IBM MQ, but let's go for the most important topic, which we punted till today. Well, not punted, we scheduled. We have the KEDA 2.0 release candidate. Thank you so much, Tom, for getting that release out the door. It's been used. I've seen healthy conversation on Slack as well as GitHub and even some on my email about some of the KEDA 2.0 stuff. We wanted to checkpoint in this stand-up about, are we ready to push this thing as the default version, potentially even later this month? I guess I'll pause there and let folks chime in on if there's any blocking issues or pending issues or discussion points that would help us make that decision.
Yeah, if I may add something, I guess that we have like received a bunch of contributions since the RC was out. So there are a couple of new PRs merged in, and I guess there is one blocking issue which is related to the scaled jobs. It's like some memory problems. So Tsuyoshi said he will look at it. So basically, I think that once this one, yeah, this is the one.
Yep.
So once this one is merged or like fixed, we can probably release like RC2 probably, something like that, and just give it a few days, maybe a week, and then we are good to go with the final release. That's my opinion.
Makes sense. Yeah, I saw the chatter around the memory leak, and I was surprised. So I'm glad at least we narrowed it down to scale jobs being the potential spot where the memory consumption is happening. That's good.
Yeah, it would be great to fix this before the final is out. Okay.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, given that like this whatever change here might have some impact. And so kind of the proposal on the table, which I would agree with as well, but I'm open to conversation, which is we close this issue as well as, we did merge in a few PRs recently, as Zbigniew mentioned. So we kind of take the status of those and those net new PRs. We do a quick RC2, which is kind of hey, we want to double check to make sure nothing is off before we make this the default. And then from there, like potentially if all that happens in the next week, a week from now, so on the 22nd, we could have a similar conversation and see if RC2 went well enough and we want to go from there. Does that sound fair to everyone? Any questions, concerns? Tsuyoshi, I know you're on the call. Are you good with that plan?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely have. Yeah, create a PL for this.
Just curious, you already know what the problem is? And
yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, this is GCP scaler with he did a detailed report on the Slack, and
right.
it is probably memory leak. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm gonna do the profiling and reproduce it.
Great.
Okay,
Thanks,
so you
Yoshi.
don't currently actually know the fix. I'm just trying. Why I'm asking is that because it looks like we are blocking on the release, and so I'm trying to get a sense of like, do we already know the problem? How long will it take? So just curious from that perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
Go for it, Tsuyoshi. Sorry.
Yeah. We need to start with the investigation, but I believe the memory profiler might help to identify the spot.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
There are also some people having issues with scale down to 0, I think, but I'm checking if it's related to the cooldown not being configured or just using a scaler that doesn't support it. But I don't think that would be a blocker, which we can easily fix after 2.0.
Yeah. Tom and I got looped into it was another team at Microsoft actually that's using KEDA. And they were, it's funny, they are in Microsoft, they found Tom's email somehow. And they just immediately emailed Tom and they're like, hey, we're having issues with KEDA. And then Tom was like, oh, by the way, there's a few folks at Microsoft who might be able to help you as well. But yeah, they were saying they weren't seeing the cooldown period being honored. At the time, though, they were at V1. I think we asked them to try in V2 RC and see if that fixed it. I'll have to dig up the email and see where they went. But I guess I don't mess with cooldown period too often. Maybe that's something I can quickly repro. I have to build a KEDA demo for KubeCon for the Microsoft booth anyway. Maybe I'll play with that and just do some smoke test validation that I'm not seeing the same issue. Okay, that's great. Yeah, and I'll keep an eye. I'll try to keep an eye on this issue. I wonder if I can notify for updates just on this one. Just that sometimes memory leaks can be a real pain in the butt to find. And so if this ends up being extensive, we'll have to we'll do what we can, I guess. Okay. It looks like I am already getting notifications for this issue. So anything else on KEDA 2.0 that folks want to cover? Okay. Roadmap review. Tom, I believe this is yours. I know I have an email that I don't think I've opened yet around this. Is there a repo here? Do you just want to talk about it? What's the best way to talk about the roadmap stuff?
Yes, so there is now a project on the main repo, which just shows the idea we had previous meeting. I just added a bunch of issues I think we should tackle. The alternative approach is to create a dedicated roadmap repo so that we have a clear separation of the roadmap and planning, and then the technical implementation issues and the bugs to clearly separate them. But I'm pretty flexible. So it would be good to have feedback on that. And then the next step would be to really add all the roadmap items, decide to which we want to commit, and yeah, take it from there.
Yeah, this looks great, Tom. I did open this email because I actually know I have looked through this. So yeah, for folks who saw, as I shared my screen, if you go to the KEDA repo and projects, there is this roadmap here where is this open for anyone to create proposals right now, or is this kind of restricted to owners and we can pull specific issues that we feel like are big enough to warrant showing up on the roadmap?
Yeah, so they have to be manually added because GitHub doesn't support automatically adding issues with a specific label. So either we add all issues or none, so I prefer none.
Agree.
But I also introduced two new labels called roadmap and roadmap proposal, I think. So
Cool.
The maintainers could use that and then do the manual action themselves if we think it's a roadmap item or not.
Great. Great. Yep, that makes a lot of sense. This looks good. And I know in one of the areas we're maybe going to talk about this week, but maybe we'll do in 2 weeks is some of the cloud advocates at Microsoft have actually been building some POCs around first-class HTTP-based scaling that I know they reviewed with Anirudh and Ahmed earlier this week that they were going to bring up at the stand-up and potentially open up a pull request there. So I think this is good. I think this helps folks know, what is next. Like, hey, KEDA 2.0, does that mean we're done? And it's like, no, we've got a bunch of other big things to do. So I think this is great, Tom. Thanks for putting that together.
If we want to have the automatic adding to the project, that would be an argument for a separate repo, because then we can use an issue template surely for entirely for the roadmap. But yeah, we can see what people think.
Yeah, I'm open to either. I think the way you've set it up now and kind of how you described where it's a little bit manual, but we have some filter or some tags at least to help us guide us in which ones we should add. I think we could go with this for a bit. And if we find out it's too cumbersome or we're leaving things behind, we could look at doing a separate roadmap one. But this looks like a great first stab at it. So thanks, Tom.
Okay, I have to drop now, but I'll check the notes afterwards.
Okay, we'll have a heated merch discussion without you, Tom. Enjoy the rest of your event.
Okay, see you later.
Bye. Okay, great. Any other comments or questions or thoughts on roadmap before we move on to the next item? Cool. This one might be pretty short. I think it impacts the American folks the most, though I don't even know where all daylight savings come into factor. Right now, we are meeting at this time, which for me is 9 o'clock a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Come November, I believe, it changes all the time. I think on November 1st, all the clocks will move back an hour. And so right now would actually be 8 o'clock in the morning. I know last time daylight savings happened, we bumped the meeting out an hour so that it stayed at 9 a.m. but it would become an hour later for everybody whose clocks don't change. Is that right? Am I thinking about this correctly? No, maybe it's the other way around. I'm sorry, I get confused. It is fall back, so right now it would be 8 o'clock. Yeah, no, it would be an hour later. I'm sorry, I'm confused. But I know we also moved this time before, and so I think I just wanted to have a question here, which is like, what should we do with the stand-up time coming that daylight savings is coming shortly after our next stand-up? Do we keep it where it's at, and folks who have daylight savings need to adjust and join at 8 a.m.? Do we bump it an hour later, but then folks have to join an hour later? Any thoughts? And I'm also still hesitant that I actually have the math right here of what happens on daylight savings to everyone else, just because I'm talking and thinking at the same time. So I'll pause there. Any general thoughts or votes, especially, I guess, Honored, I'd be curious on your take of what works.
If I may, Jeff, a little note. I guess the main problem is that we, like in Europe, or for example in Czech Republic, we have the daylight saving time like probably like a week or two sooner than in the US. So this is the main point. Yeah.
And is it the same? Your clocks will go back an hour?
Yes, yes. Like, it will be on the 25th of October.
Okay. So if that is the case, then probably we just adjust and it'll adjust for both of us, right?
Yeah, they're 1 week earlier because we're November 1st.
Yeah, but we are also meeting once in 2 weeks.
Right.
So if we don't fall on that, then we may not even have a meeting, or we can even skip a meeting if required. But just my preference is to, like, 8 o'clock is a little bit early. So for me, personally, so especially with with all the COVID and all the kids schooling, that's the time when kids are getting ready for classes. So so if it turns out that even Europe has actually has daylight savings and they are falling in the same way, then I guess we can. I think it looks like we can still coordinate, right? And keep.
Yes. I think that like personally for me, I don't mind like starting 1 hour sooner. So it's okay for me to stay on the same time, to be convenient for you.
Okay. I'm sorry, I think it's actually 1700 UTC is what we'd be proposing. So we would shift with daylight. It actually makes you feel better. Yeah. Daylight savings is such a weird thing that I'm like, I don't know how unique this is. So Zibidek, I feel good at least that your clocks are moving. I don't know all the other parts of the world that are on the call. I don't know what boat you're in. But I think right now we're looking at saying, hey, right now we're meeting at 1600 UTC. After November 1st, we might actually move this to start being at 1700 UTC, so that more or less it's still the same time if you had daylight savings. So it's still 9 a.m. for me. It's still whatever midnight for Zibidek. But we would shift it there. But for folks who aren't being impacted by daylight savings, it would mean that this would now be an hour later in the day. Concerns? All right, I think
makes sense. If I may add something to this topic, I have discussed this with Tom before about moving the stand-up to another day in the week.
Sure.
Because Tom told me that he will be like probably like very busy on next like a couple of first days, maybe like for the rest of the year. So I was thinking about moving it to Tuesday, because on Thursday there is the CNCF serverless group meeting the same time that we are meeting. And the other point is that like we are discussing the releases. So probably like usually we like agree on the release on Thursday and then we are doing the release on Friday. So which is not very good. So if we meet on Tuesday, we can discuss on Tuesday and then we can release on Wednesday or whatever. So this is just the proposal if it is convenient for you guys, like meet the same time on Tuesday.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me personally. But I'm just curious. But Friday would not be, because then it'll be Friday night for you folks, and
then we'll be doing releases on Saturday.
Right? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Friday is not an option for me. Sorry.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah, I think Tuesday works well for me, actually. So why don't we do that then? I think that makes sense. And yeah, I do miss 100% of these serverless SIG CNCF groups because it conflicts with this meeting, which is fine. I like this meeting more. No offense to Doug from IBM, who I love dearly. But yeah, why don't we do that both then? We can move to Tuesdays and also adjust the time starting on November 3rd. So yeah, I think our next meeting then, I guess right now we have one on the 29th at the same time. So maybe we keep that one as is, which means Zibyanek, you can just join an hour earlier or later. I can't remember. I'm all confused again. I think you get to join an hour earlier.
Yes.
And then we'll start on like November 10th is when we'll switch to Tuesdays.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, great. Sweet. All right, now we get to talk about fun stuff now that we have kind of the whatever out of the way. So Richard, Jess, Callum, I'll turn it over to you. And you can talk some about this IBM MQ scaler. I saw that there's a pull request already, so maybe I'll open that up as well, but feel free to share your screen or talk to it, whatever you want to share here.
Thanks, Jeff. So just a little bit of preamble from me. So we're from the IBM MQ development organization. Each year we welcome graduates into the organization and set them a project. IBM MQ is a well-established messaging offering from IBM. We're on the mainframe, we're on the cloud, we're on the Raspberry Pi, we're on many different architectures, on distributed containers, OpenShift, you name it, we have a server offering there. For this year's project, we thought it'd be kind of cool to get a KEDA scaler in place. So the team have been looking at over the last few weeks and have got to a point where we put a pull request in. So we're really, really excited. I'd like to hand over to the guys to share with you what we've been doing. I'd love to take some questions if that's the right thing to do. I do have a couple of questions myself. Maybe we can handle those at the end. If you'd like to find out more about us, if you go to ibm.biz /learn-mq, it's a dash, Jeff. I think we got a slash in there instead. So it's ibm.biz and then /learn-mq. Perfect. You can find out more about IBM MQ there, where we run those kind of things, just for some background. So I'm going to hand over to Jess and Callum just to talk about what we've been doing, and they'll take it from here.
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
We can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. That's always a good start. So yeah, as Richard's kind of said, so we're doing this. We had 4 grads actually this year, which is just a little bit smaller than normal. And we've also had 2 placement students join in with this. And the idea was kind of to get to you guys and hopefully create a pull request. And we think we're pretty much there, as you can kind of see on the screen, I guess.
Yeah.
So what we've actually got is we've got pull requests for the actual scaler itself, as well as the docs. And I think we've already got merged in a link to our sample app. So we've done a Go sample app as well, which is fully documented as well. At the moment, those docs, if you follow that, it takes you through actually installing a local instance of KEDA and playing with it that way, because you've got to put the scaler in. But hopefully, fingers crossed, we can change all that soon and have it straight from you guys through that pull request. So that's pretty much where we are. I think Jess is going to give you a bit more information on kind of what's next for us and a little bit more on that kind of thing.
Yeah, cool. So we're, in terms of those 3 things that Callum just mentioned, we're addressing a couple of comments that have been put on those pull requests, and if anyone else does want to take a look and make any additional comments, that would be awesome. But other than that, we just have the integration test aspect to have a look at. We were actually wondering if there would be anyone willing to give us a little bit of a helping hand, just that we are completely new to the framework of the integration test. So if anyone's even willing to just take any questions from us when it comes to us developing it, we've kind of started and are coming along with it. It's just that it's a bit slow progress, just because we are new to the testing framework that you've got for the integration test.
Yeah, anyone on the call here? We can actually start. Yeah, I am curious. I know he's not on the call this week. He usually is. Yeah. I think the last person, and I was even going to check to see if the commit log backs me up. I think the last person who's been doing a lot of work here around test is Travis. who is super great in a bunch of ways. I know he's on the Slack channel as well. He's not on this call, but he would be one candidate who I think might be a good option to reach out to for questions as well. Unless I'm misremembering, I know there were a few folks from who've been doing some test stuff. I don't know if anyone else on the call would be a good candidate as well to help answer questions on setting up some of those end-to-end nightly tests.
Yeah.
You can fall back to me as well. Like that's no problem. And I guess that Travis is in the UK, so he's in the same time zone as you guys.
Oh,
so
great.
Yeah,
I suppose.
perfect. Thank you.
And feel free to ask on Slack. Probably that's the best way, like on the channel. So probably like other folks can chime in.
Yep, sounds good. Yeah, I think that was the main thing that we've kind of got remaining to work on. Other than that, it is just the pull requests and addressing any comments, and hopefully to get that in time for V2. Fingers crossed.
Great.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think we're in a pretty good place. So what we've done is we've when we made this scaler, we've based it off of V2 to begin with. I think that was kind of the direction we were pushed towards. So that's what we went for. But yeah, I think, as I say, I think we're in a good place. So we've got all the normal unit tests and things like that. That's all done and passing. And we've got, I say, a demo that people can go and run right now. And we've got, you guys might know about IBM Cloud and our own infrastructure. So the entire demo can actually be run on our infrastructure on the free plan. So it's not like we're limiting this to the clients who are going to pay the most kind of thing.
That's great.
Okay, thanks, guys. Jeff, just a couple of things to wrap up. I guess from our perspective, it'd be great to get a little bit of help with that integration test. I know that's relatively new, and we'd like to get that over the line. So yeah, we'll reach out on the Slack channel to do that. So thank you. The pull request, I think we've got in a little bit of a tiz because things have been in and out. And Zibanek, I know we spoke earlier, and I think you're willing to try and help us out in sort of tidying all that up. Please don't put it on the screen. It's horrible.
It looks fine. Yeah, I'll switch to the code now. We'll all code review it live.
Oh, great. Thank you. That's awesome. The other thing that I had a question about, and we may want to follow this up offline, is that there's a little bit of confusion from me around the contribution terms. So I followed the contributing tab, and I've got approval to submit the pull request under those terms. There was then just a comment on the pull request asking us to remove copyright and to remove the Apache 2 assertion. That just came up as slightly unusual looking at this as a contribution, and I'm not clear as to whether this needs to be a contribution or a code donation. So I don't anticipate any problem from my end in fulfilling either of those. It's just that I need to be clear with the guys here, the team here I'm working with on the legal side, to make sure we do the right process, if that makes sense.
I see, or I think I see. I assume Zibianek, you were the one who was looking at this.
Like there was the Apache license with the IBM, like the copyright. So I wasn't sure that this is like acceptable by CNCF, like to have the because we have like the KEDA project copyright on the license in the repo. So
where does it pop up? Like where
it is already removed, I suppose, like in the from the latest commit.
That is a kind of transient state for us at the moment. So for a contribution, we would be typically looking to include the copyright just because that's a statement of fact, and we would make the contribution under Apache 2, and that's perfectly fine. I wondered if this was a house style question. So if it's a house style question, then we would offer up the pull request we have there with a comment saying that we've removed the comments in each source file for compatibility with the house style. But I would need to add to the comment that the copyright assertion is unchanged. If this isn't a contribution, it needs to be a donation, and I need to work through a different process. And I would like a little bit of clarity in the contributing tab, because that very much is going down the contributing sort of process, certainly from my perspective. I don't think this is a big deal. It's just clarity, right? And look, I don't want that to detract from how excited we are to have a scaler and to get IBM MQ clients up and running with this stuff.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It's a fine topic in Canada. I think Zibianek's probably coming for he might actually know a lot more of this than I do. I think my initial assumption is like, we've got a few contexts on the CNCF org. More or less, we're kind of just like, hey, while KEDA itself, whatever, it's MIT licensed and it's a part of the CNCF. Oh no, it's Apache licensed in CNCF. Yeah, it was Apache licensed when we went to the CNCF. I don't know a whole lot about this license stuff or what's there. Your request makes sense. Like, I understand copyrights are a thing. And so I think it's more of, I'll probably loop in like our main contact from the CNCF and be like, hey, what are other projects doing? What's the recommendation? I'm fine either way. We'll probably just do whatever the CNCF guidelines have us do. And then to your point, whatever the answer ends up being, make sure that it's clear in the contributing section. So I'll do that. And then maybe, I don't know who's the best point of contact, but if there's some email, maybe you can stick an email in the chat window. I can include you on those emails so that if you have any questions, you can ask the CNCF reps directly, since I'm very ignorant around all things licenses and open source.
Sure, thanks, Jeff. Well, I'll certainly ping you over my email address, and we'll take it from there.
Great. This looks really good. The only question I have too around this, and this might be minor, but since Ahmed's on the call, I know we made the change in V2 that if something is being loaded from an environment variable, we appended it with ref. Given that they have username and password here that are in that world, does this need to be username ref and password ref? Is that what we landed on?
Well, we landed at from env as a suffix.
Oh, from env, that's what it was.
Yeah, but I think, I meant to comment on that pull request. Currently, they don't read username and password from env at all. It might be a nice thing to support, but they only read it from the auth parameters.
I see. Okay, yeah.
So I think it's fine now because auth parameters don't have the from env suffix, but if they want to support having the from env, then they need to add it from the metadata. I can follow up on the pull request.
I see. I didn't even realize there was a way you could do exclusively from auth parameters and not also do it from env. Okay. Yeah. So I guess it is kind of up to you in some ways. I don't know, folks on the call, if you got the gist of the conversation back and forth there. Did that make sense to you at all, of the decision to be made?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, yeah, that makes sense. I see what you mean about the from env. We just went down the auth params route. Yeah.
Yeah, which is fine. Like, honestly, I can see a world where it's like, look, for whatever reason, we just don't want anyone to do from env. Usually we do historically, I guess we've done from env a lot for like ease of use, in terms of you're only dealing with one thing and you're dealing with environment variables however you want. But especially when it's something like a secret, more often than not, people, or I guess from env can be from a secret as well, directly in line. It just means they don't have to deal with this extra CRD, which whatever, this is 10 lines. So I don't know if we have an official stance where it's like we require from env and auth parameters. I candidly am fine if people do this route, as long as it's clearly documented that it's like, you cannot do from env, you have to do trigger authentication. Since I think the default for all of the other scalars is that if it's something that could be in trigger authentication, it could also be an inline secret or an inline environment variable, and it would also resolve. I don't know if folks on the call have more strong opinions on, we need to make sure that they're always from envable.
I mean, all other scalars have that. Like, all other scalars that have secrets support from env from the metadata directly. I'm not like ideologically opposed to having a scalar that doesn't, but it's up to you guys.
Sure. So I guess maybe put otherwise, if you're not opposed to having from env, it might just make it so this isn't the odd duck out if we changed it, if we just add that into the code so that it could also be from env, which would also mean, to be consistent with V2, the parameter names would change to username from env and password from env, as you can see how we've done with a bunch of these other ones in the changelog, just so that folks know
Jess,
that.
Jess, is that something we can take care of in the pull request?
Yeah, that's fine. We can definitely just add that in. It doesn't make too much difference to us, right? So
does it affect the sample at all?
No, it shouldn't do.
Okay.
No, it's an additional option, right, of how to supply it, so it shouldn't affect any of that.
Perfect. Okay. Does that work for you, Jeff? We just take care of that.
Yeah, this looks, and honestly, this looks fantastic. So I'm thrilled to. I assume the sample and this is again my ignorance, like I know of IBM Q because I've had a good few Azure customers who use IBM MQ. I personally have never spun
Great
up
to hear,
IBM
Jeff.
MQ.
Great to hear.
Yes. But like I'm even keen to test this out or add it to my demo suite. So this looks great.
We've got a little learning journey there, so you can get yourself an Acclaim badge, and there's a little hands-on coding challenge and a little quiz at the end. So if you want to go take that, you'd be more than welcome.
Sure.
But happy to do a call if you want to talk about a little bit more about what we're doing in MQ land. Just a couple of things. So we'll take care of those changes. I think we just need to tidy up the license clarity. I think that's all it is. Jeff and the wider team, just really important to note that Jess and Callum have only been with us for a few weeks. They didn't know a great deal about MQ when they joined. They certainly didn't know anything about KEDA. They've grabbed all of that technology, they've used your doc, and they've delivered a scaler within that team of 4, which I think was really quite amazing. And there might be some benefit to just them telling you their story and how they went through that at another time. There might be some changes that you might want to consider as a result of that, and there might be some some great feedback in discussions that will come out of it. And on that point, just wanted to check with you guys that it would be okay if we put someone on the call every couple of weeks here, just to keep in touch with what you're doing and that kind of thing. I guess specifically wondered if there was any sort of approval for that, or whether you guys would be happy just to see us come along.
Yeah, we would love to have you come along, and honestly, it's fantastic. I'm flattered and thrilled that you chose KEDA and an IBM MQ scaler as the thing to ramp up and learn. And yeah, absolutely, I would love. I know we're running a little bit short on time this week, but whether we do it in a future stand-up or even on Slack, as we've kind of mentioned, all of us are active in listening to Slack, like understanding what that was like onboarding and ramping up and using it. We dug into it a few months ago, I think, in terms of trying to clean up the contribution stuff. Maybe you benefited from all of that and a lot of the pointy edges were cleaner. Mm-hmm. I would imagine there's a new set of pointy edges, or maybe slightly dulled edges. And yeah, all of that is fantastic. I'd love to learn more. Yeah,
that's great. We'll make the effort to come along and participate for sure. We'd love to do that. And if some conversations spin out of it, we'll take part for sure.
The other one too that's an option, depending on your level of interest, like we do have on the KEDA site this blog that's pretty sparse, like we use it from time to time. If you're keen to do just a blog as well to either explain about your experience in contributing or anything around KEDA, that's something I know we'd be thrilled to help promote from our side on whatever channels we can as well.
Great. We'll take that back to the team. Thank you.
Sweet. Thanks, Al. Thanks for joining. Great meeting you. Okay.
You can do the merch now, Jeff.
Yeah, we have. I mean, without Tom, I guess he just wants us to vote, so we can vote for Tom's sake. It looks like we have 2 options for merch. And let me make sure I'm reading these. What do you think of current designs? Can we have a mix of 1 and 2? Can we fill the lightning bolt with white to make it more clear? Yeah, the favorite feature, which is the... Do we know who designed these? Was this Tom who designed them?
No, I guess it's some provider from CNCF.
Oh wow! One of the perks of being in CNCF is we get swag designed.
Yeah, but I'm missing the lightning bolt over there, so that's.
Oh yeah, so the feedback is fill in the little lightning bolt here so that it's white. Option 1 or option 2. Anyone want to vote via chat or by unmuting on which option they prefer the most? I like option 1. I know Tom said a combination. I wonder if he means like option 2 in the front, option 1 in the back. But I'm a fan of just the logo straight above the heart, Iron Man style. But yeah, I think the option 1 with a filled in lightning bolt so that it's a little bit more clear. That's my vote. Okay, I'm not hearing.
I think the same. I think the same. I guess that. Tom was proposing, or maybe it was my proposal, like to have like 1 color, like with the different design. So, like probably the mint one with the small logo on the side. So have like a combination of both.
Meaning, so like the same shirt, or we just get both shirts ordered?
No, I mean like the gray and blue from the option 1 and the mint from the option 2.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'll let you and Tom figure. I'm okay with that.
sorry for the complications.
It's on the agenda. Yeah, I honestly am just, I didn't even realize we had, it's funny, I ordered a bunch of KEDA shirts right before the pandemic to give out at I think KubeCon at the Microsoft booth. But then KubeCon got canceled, and now they're sitting in a storage closet back at Microsoft headquarters. But they weren't nearly as cool as I actually think I just did this design, the navy option one, more or less. I couldn't tell you what the lightning bolt looked like though. Okay, so we should get a lot more KEDA shirts out in the wild. I'll give this update from Tom. Worth noting, so there's a series that happens on the Azure developer channel called Azure Fridays, that they just do like a 10-minute recording of like, hey, here's a little bit of tech, and then it gets viewed by some, whatever, thousands of people. Tom's going to go on the show and talk about KEDA. And as part of it, he's going to show a service bus sample. So he moved that to 2.0. He updated the pod identity so that he can showcase KEDA 2.0 along with his sample at this Azure Friday kind of marketing spiel that will probably be published a little bit later this year. I think he records in early November. So that's great.
Jeff, if I may, relevant to this, probably we will need to migrate like the rest of the samples to V2, or maybe check if they are needed to be migrated.
That's a very good point. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Maybe we can add issue, and like it is good for newcomers, I suppose.
Yeah, at the very least, we need to clearly mark, like if we're not going to manually upgrade the samples, like flag which ones are V1 and which ones are V2, maybe put V2 below a fold or something. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of samples here and a lot that will need to be updated. Yeah, I was, because a lot of these link to other repos. And so maybe I'm trying to think if I have a meeting later today where I can just open a lot of these and create an issue that's like move to V2 and then see what happens with it. And if it doesn't, then we just have to make sure that folks know this is only works on V1. And we'll probably put like a line here. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's a good issue. Let me move samples to V2. I'm going to create the placeholder issue here. My GitHub notifications are consistently underwater, so I'm going to add an item for me in my own personal to-do list that does not have all the things to track this, and I'll take some action here. Jeff to ping the samples to move to V2. Okay, and then the last one we have is Helm 2. I think Travis was the last one who's going to look at this, and he's not on the call today. And I guess his proposal is just, do we deprecate Helm 2 for KEDA 2.0?
I guess that Tom was a little bit frustrated with the Helm 2, so we were thinking about dropping the support and just like moving to V3. I guess it's okay.
Yeah, and it looks like Helm 2 itself is reaching end of life, so it makes sense. Yeah, this tweet is pretty convincing. I honestly am not as bothered by the CRD errors, but I know folks have run into it and Tom despises it. So yeah, I think that makes sense. I'm okay with it. Okay, I'll create an issue on the charts repo. I assume, yeah, they're like people who are using older charts, like they use a specific version. If they were using Helm 2, it's not like that's going to break. It would just be if they try to use the latest charts. It would only work with Helm 2. Is that accurate as far as you know, Zibionek?
Yes, I suppose, yes.
Yeah, and I know there's already an issue here as well on this one. So I'll just add here. Okay, I'll add that issue. All right, that's how we have on the agenda then. I think we're cool to, we are okay to remove Helm 2 for the KEDA 2.0 charts, given it's going end of life in November. That's how we had on the scheduled agenda. Any other topics folks want to bring up or updates they want to share before we sign off?
Did you want the Team IBM t-shirt sizes, Jeff, so we can get a t-shirt? Or
yes, we're not shipping them out, but that's the other question. Once we get these t-shirts, how are they actually getting distributed until we start having actual conferences in person? Tom's not on the call to answer that question. Maybe the CNCF also has a shipping service and we can start taking, I would love to do that, honestly. If whenever you contributed, we got your address and we sent you a shirt, I'd be totally on board.
Definitely, should start now.
Hey, at the very least, you could, we are participating in Hacktoberfest. If you just add a Hacktoberfest flag to your PR and get it approved, you can get a shirt from DigitalOcean, I guess, though it says
Look at that.
Oktoberfest on us.
This is the insights I need. Thanks, Jeff. Well,
Yeah,
I'm going to stop talking now and let you take some serious AOB, right?
Yeah, no worries. These are the topics we need to take time for, so I appreciate it. All right, thanks all for joining. I'll go ahead and upload this to YouTube, and we'll talk again 2 weeks from now. Same time, except for Zibianek and folks who have earlier daylight savings. You get a little bit earlier. So talk to you then.
See you. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, see you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.